Okay, we are recording, and I am going to, by the way, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce myself. I am Brant Starkey. I am an instructional coach at the Jefferson County ESC in Steubenville, Ohio. And I'm going to be talking about a program called Snagit. Before I begin that, though, I want to go into chat, and I'm going to have I'm going to put a link in there for those who need proof of attendance or what have you. As soon as I find where it needs to go. There we go. That link should be in there now. So if you need to again, prove that you were here, get the documentation, there's the link from Google is over in the chat. So once again, I'm Brant Starkey. We're going to talk about Snagit. I did a session on this last year. I'm doing it again. I asked Michelle if I needed to switch it up, and she said, nope, you're good. I can do it. Can do it again. Did the link come through?
I just put it in there again. I'm not sure if you just had it on one person or not, but I just threw it up there for you while you were explaining.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, trying to multitask here, which I'm not good at. But anyway, I talked about this last year, and I asked Michelle if I needed to do something different, and she said, nope, you can do it again. So that's what I'm doing. I like Snagit a lot. It allows whoever is using it to create images that will help to impact students and their learning in a much more professional way. Before I get into that, though, I do have a couple things I want to say about it first. The first thing is that this is a service that requires a fee. Maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. If you go to TechSmith, that's the website where you can find Snagit and other products for that matter. It requires a 1-year license, and just a standard regular 1-year license is like $62, but they have an educator rate, which drops it all the way down to $38. And then if you get a number of teachers a number of other individuals that join with you, just like anything else, if you buy something in bulk, the price drops. There's a tier from 1 to 4, and then 5 to 9 teachers, 10 to 24. And then I noticed they had a thing that said, if you have 100 or more, if this is something you want to bring to your administration, 100 or more, it said click for, to contact them directly. So the more people that sign up, it can actually help to drop it a little bit. But for what it is, for what they're charging, you can do a lot with this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just kind of by talking about the snipping tool that comes with, Microsoft Edge and so forth. I don't know how many of you have used that. I use it literally daily. I have a compatriot in my office that I'm sending screenshots to regularly, and the snipping tool, I kind of dragged it last year when I was talking about Snagit, but it does have its place. It does have its purpose. You can highlight things, you can, make an arrow, but it's all dependent on how steadily you can hold your hand while you're dragging the mouse. Snagit will get rid of that pretty easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and there we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see what it is I'm trying to do here. And I'm going to pull up my browser. Everybody see? Okay, got a Civil War soldier up there, just making sure everybody can see. I was trying to figure out something. I mean, we're going to go through not a number of images, just a few, but it's February. We have President's Day this month. It's Black History Month. So I thought, what kind of images can I use? And I thought Emancipation Proclamation, Civil War kind of stuff. So I just tried to pick a theme that we could go with for searching for images and videos and things like that. But the first thing, as far as using this, if you're going to grab an image, this is the window that comes up. And if you look over here to the left, there's all-in-one, there's image, and there's video. All-in-one pretty much does that. If I clicked capture here, it would allow me to capture the image, and then it would ask if I wanted a picture or a video, and you could choose from there. You'll see here in a second that you'll get more options if you select one of these, but you do have some toggles. You can preview it in the editor, which is on, copy to clipboard. You can capture the cursor or not. I'm going to go ahead, since we're dealing directly with an image, and click on image, but let me get this out of the way first because I want to pull this guy up. All right, I'm going to go back to my window and I'm going to go ahead and click image. You're going to see this window expand. And it gives you some different options. You can, there's a region select. You can select effects from right here under this drop-down window. You can share it directly from here. You can screencast it. You can share it to SharePoint or Google Drive or put it in an email. I mean, you can share it directly from here in addition to all these toggles that you saw over here. So I'm going to move this back. I'm trying to move it this way. I'm going to go ahead and hit capture. And you're going to see some crosshairs come up. Now, that if you look, there's a dotted line all around the screen. That's your capture area. But what I want to do is I want just this image, and I have a hand raised. And I'm trying to get to it. Going to go ahead and admit people. Was that what that was for? The hand raise? We had more people that wanted in. I started talking and just started rambling. So
I'm sorry, and I didn't look.
That's all right. That's all right. I didn't notice. I was on a roll. So okay. All right, so let me see here. All right, so I want to capture this image. And if you look in the little blown up window to the left, you can actually line this up as directly as you want. Those are, the pixels. If you really want just this image, it will allow you to fine tune exactly what you grab here. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. But if I want this image, I'm going to left click and hold and then drag what I want to capture. And you can see down here at the bottom again, it'll allow you to really fine tune how much you actually grab onto. So I'm going to go ahead and just let go. But there's the image that we're going to use. Now, if you notice, it immediately brings it up in the editor. If you want to work with this, you can work with it as it is. If you want a little bit more in the way of size, if you come down here to where the magnifying glass, it says view zoom options. If you click that, you can actually hit actual size and it will be the size of the image that you actually grab. And that makes it a little bit bigger in this case and a little easier to work with. So the first thing I want to point out, if you notice up here at the top, there's error. There's a number of these different options here. Last year when I did this, I kind of went straight across, which was okay. But at the same time, I'm hoping that it'll flow a little bit better this time around because I'm going to kind of hop, skip, and jump around a little bit. But I am going to go ahead and start with the arrow. Now, I mentioned that at the top, with the snipping tool, you can draw an arrow, but again, it's dependent on how steady your hand is, and how well you're able to keep your hand steady while you're drawing. This will allow you to place a really, really nice looking arrow to point out whatever it is that you want to point out. So, and to a lot of people, this is a gun. To some others, it might be a rifle. I want to pinpoint this. So if I want to put an arrow in here, I'm going to click on arrow. And one thing I want to point out, if you notice in the bottom right-hand quadrant of my cursor, you see the arrow. If I move to text, there's a lowercase a. The lowercase a is in the right-hand quadrant. Call out the balloon. So whatever tool you are using at that time, if you're looking at it, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't want that. I want the arrow. Just a little reminder as to what tool you currently have pulled up. So I want to use the arrows, and I'm going to point to this. So I'm going to, once again, I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag backward. Okay. I can set this up completely differently, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to switch my options. I'm going to place the point at this end and put the end here, and then kind of come back here and do it again. So now I'm pointing to the arrow. If you notice too, you can have an arrow at both ends. I'll talk more about some of the ends here in a minute, but here's my arrow. So instead, again, of having to just very steadily hold my hand and draw it as best I can, I have a nice looking arrow to point out whatever it is that I want to. Well, that was just a fat finger drag. So I'm going to undo that real quick. But I've got a nice arrow pointing to what I want to pinpoint. Now I can change this. in a number of different ways. So in order to edit that, I'm going to go ahead and click. You can see I've got my dots here that allow me to do a number of different things. I can actually make this arrow a little bit shorter. I can lengthen it if I want to, which is nice too, because again, with the snipping tool, you would have to go back in and erase it, maybe start all over. You can edit this very same arrow and make it look however you want it to look. A couple things, if you come over here to the tool properties, I can, if it's still editable right now, I can change the color. I can make this yellow. I can make it, whatever color I want. I can custom create a color. If you noticed, using this color bar, I'm going to go ahead and put it back on red just because. But you can change the coloring. You can actually change the shadow too. I don't know where the light source was when this guy's picture was taken. This is from the 1860s, so it's probably directly in front of him. If I want to eliminate the shadow, I can get rid of it. I can put it wherever I want it, and it just adds some depth to what you're trying to display. So I can actually also change the width. I can come down here to this bar and drag and make it wider, make it more narrow. You can come over here and click and type the value that you want in there. The opacity, you can see that this is a solid arrow. I can click and drag it and make it a little more transparent. There are a lot of different options with how you treat this particular arrow. You're going to see a lot of these properties repeat in some of these other tools. So I've got my arrow. We're good to go there. I'm going to move on to the next tool, and I am going to go ahead and go to text. Now I can insert text anywhere I want to on this image. So I've clicked it. Once again, if I bring it down, you can see the lowercase a indicating, that I have my text tool ready to go. Once again, I'm going to click and drag to create a text window. So I'm clicking and I'm dragging. You can see it says add text here. Okay, so now it automatically brings up a bar for you. You can change the text color, you can change the font. If I click on this drop-down menu, you can see that the font list is pretty extensive. It's what you would see in Word or Google Docs. I mean, you're not limited to what kind of font you want to use. You can adjust the size, you can bold. I mean, all the stuff that you would see on a word processing program you'll find here. So we're going to point out, I mentioned, to a lot of people, this is just a gun or a rifle. Well, we know that this is a musket. So, let's just say this. Where's it operating? Here we go. This type of rifle is, I think I misspelled. Yep, rifle is called a musket. All right. So if I click outside here, I'll see what it looks like. All right. Now, if you notice, it's outlined in white. You can get rid of that. You can change that to another color, the outline, that is. So if I come back in here and I just click and drag the text just like I would in any other word processing program, I can come over here. The outline is white right now. I can get rid of it and just make it look like it's shadowed. That makes it a little bit harder to see. Depending on the background, you might want to put a certain outline on it to make it a little more visible. I'm going to make it red. You could do that for whatever you want, but you get the point. The shadowing is there as well. I'm not going to belabor these points too awful much, but if I come back in here, you can see I have the font option here, or I have it down here in my tool properties as well. So I can change that. And you see that it changes it too. So you can place text anywhere inside of an image, to highlight or delineate or pinpoint whatever it is that you want your students to see. Okay, so that's the text. The next one to the right is the call out option. And if you look over to the right, here are your styles. They've got some, you have a square balloon, you've got an arrow. For you locals, that's like Kennywood for their signs to get to the park. You've got just a regular box. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see the balloon like what you would see in a cartoon in the paper. I want to use that just for example purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And once again, I'm going to click, hold, and drag. And now I have a dialogue balloon. Now, it's perfectly circular or very close to it. If I want a little bit more space for what I type, I can actually drag this and make it a little bit larger. Okay, now it looks more like what we would call a word balloon. So, all right, this guy needs something to say. So he looks pretty eager, looks pretty sure of himself, looks ready. So I am ready to fight. I don't know. So, and then you can click outside the box, outside the border, you can get a look at it. Now, one other thing that I do want to point out about this, if you look at it, you're like, I'm not really sure I like that. You can click on it to make it editable. Come back over here to your properties. You have some quick, if you notice, this says quick styles. If you come down here to shape, it will give you much more in the way of options. You've got more arrows, you've got different styled arrows. Maybe he's not thinking it so much as he is, or saying it so much as he is thinking it. Now we can give him a thought balloon. He thinks he's ready to fight. I can come back, I can make it editable once again, come back over to the shape option. If it, if he's, it's gonna, you can see that it's gonna adjust the text based on the size of the balloon. But if something's explosive or you really want to make a point, you can put this explosive type call out in there. So you've got a number of different options as to how you want to use a call out, and you're only limited by how you want to use it. So that's the call out tool. So I'm going to go to a different option. So I'm going to call my browser back up, and I'm going to go to History Channel. And this is just an article that or history.com by the History Channel. This is just an article that they had about the Emancipation Proclamation. And I just want to focus on this little section right here where it talks about Abe Lincoln's developing views on slavery. So I am going to go ahead and capture this once again. And there are my crosshairs. And I just want the section down right above that second picture. So once again, I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to actually include some of that Dr. Pepper ad just to kind of show you another one of the tools. So there is my workable space. And the next thing I want to show you is a tool called the Erase tool. Now, you don't see it up here. If you come over here to the More option, there's a drop down. If you click it, it gives you many more options of things to be able to do. And then down at the very bottom, you can customize the toolbar. If there are tools that you use more than you do others, you can put those up here at the top. That's the nice thing about this, is you can select whatever tools you want and put them right here at the ready instead of having to go over to More and then scrolling down. So as far as the Erase option, I'm going to go ahead and click this. And if you look over here, it gives you different points. You have a very fine point in the upper left-hand corner, way over here to the wide point over here in the bottom right. So I want to get rid of this Dr. Pepper ad. Now, there are a couple of different ways to do this. One way would be to just grab this box or the block right there and drag it over. You can get rid of it that way. But just so I can show you how this works, I've got this particular point, and I think I can pretty much get rid of this in one fell swoop. So once again, I'm going to click and drag. And if you notice, there is a checkerboard that shows up. Well, you don't really want that either. We're going to look at another tool, and it's up here, and this is the fill option. When you bring this up, it gives you a number of different colors. Now, I want this to look like it was never there. So white is already pre-selected. I'm going to go ahead, and there's the paint, or the paint bucket. And if you notice, there's the fill option, there's the paint bucket. I'm going to just go ahead and click it, and it fills it all in, cleans it up. It's like it was never there. Now, just to kind of show you what I was talking about a second ago, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to undo that and put the ad back. What I was talking about was just clicking this and dragging it over. Now it's gone. But I just wanted to show you, the erase option. So you can erase and then fill in, and it cleans it up very nicely. It looks really, really clean and professional. Okay. The next option is over also in this More, because this is not one that I use terribly often, but this is the cutout option. So I'm going to scroll down and click on the cutout option. If you look over here, you've got some horizontal cutouts, you've got some vertical cutouts. These four give it a little bit more of a border or an edge. I'm going to show you first, though, what happens. So if I chose this one again because of its topic, but also because of the ad in the middle. So I don't want that there. It's unnecessary. It kind of makes it look a little junky. What I'm going to do is, you see this is already pre-selected, and this line is moving up and down. I'm going to bring it where I want it in the image. Once again, I'm going to click. I'm going to hold and drag. This is the area that I want to get rid of. And all I'm going to do is let go, and it brings it together. It was like it was never even there. Cleans it up very nicely. You could erase it and fill it, do the same thing, but that's extra steps to achieve the same thing. The cutout is a really cool option. to be able to clean things up and get rid of things you don't really want. Now I'm going to undo that. And by the way, if you notice it says revert to original, you can start all the way over again if something doesn't look the way you want it to. But I'm going to undo that because I just want to show you another one of these borders. There's horizontal tear, horizontal shark's tooth, wave. What this does is it just gives you an option for a little bit in the way of some personality. I'm going to go ahead and click this one. The same thing applies here. It gives you the line as to where to start, click, drag. And you can see I didn't quite go up high enough, but you get the idea. It gives you a tear, like the paper's been torn. There's your checkerboard again. You can come back up in here into fill. We'll select purple for whatever reason, and it'll fill it in. Then you can put a text box in here if you want it to. But it just, like I said, gives it a little bit of personality, little bit more in the way of options. So I'm going to go ahead and undo all of that. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to come back over here to cut out and bring it together the way that it was. So give me just a second here. All right. So like it was never there. All right. So that's your cutout option. One really, really cool feature I think about Snagit is the ability to move text and objects in an image. Now, if you noticed, this move option, when you come over here, it brought over this smart move. And trying to get this out of the way because it's blocking the smart move toggle. There we go. If you notice now, there's a window that says it's identifying what can be moved. So I am going to wait for a second. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than that. I did a couple dry runs this morning. It took longer, but it's ready to go. So if I bring my cursor back over, you can see I get edit boxes for these 3 paragraphs. The program has determined that these 3 things can be moved. Now, there really isn't anything wrong with this headline being left justified, but let's just, for our example here, say that you want to center it. You want to put it right in the center. So I'm going to highlight this to make it workable, to activate it. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to drag it over. Now, if you notice, automatically I got a blue line. That's my horizontal alignment. And as I get closer to the center, there's my vertical. It's going to allow me to align it on the center. Now, I'm still holding my left button on the mouse, but if you look over to the left where the headline was, you see the checkerboard. You might be thinking, well, I'm going to have to fill that in when I'm done. One really cool thing about this particular tool in this program is when I let go, it autofills. It's already done. So now I have this little blurb that I want to maybe share with my class, with my students. It has a centered headline. I didn't have to go back in and fill where it was. This is one of the things that I find really, really neat about this program is that you can move stuff in an image. And make it look however you want it to look. Okay, so any questions so far? I know I'm kind of blowing through this, but I want to make sure I get to the stuff before we run out of time. Okay. So if you look in that first paragraph, it talks about tensions over slavery. Let's say that you send this to your students and you want them to, you don't want to just kind of spoon feed them everything by giving them all they have to do is, read the article. Let's say you want them to do a little bit of homework and you want them to have to look something up. So in that second line in the first paragraph, you can see that the Kansas-Nebraska Act, the reason that's red and underlined is because it was a hyperlink in the website that I took this from. But let's just say you want them to have to look that up, but you want to hide it somehow. If you come back over here to your more options, there is a blur option. You can actually blur something out. Now you've got just a regular type of blur where it'll smooth it and then there's different intensities, or you can make it look like it's digitized or pixelated. So it's already selected, but I'm going to come back over here. There's my drop in the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm just going to simply click and drag, and you can see that it looks like this text has been pixelated. So now it's blocked. They can't read it. And you can let them know, hey, look, I want you to look this up. I don't know if you guys have ever used, wanted to include an image in a presentation or something, and I've done this. I've never included it, but I've seen an image where it's like, oh man, I can't use that. There's something offensive on the t-shirt. There's something going on in the background that you can't quite crop out. You can digitize it. You can pixelate it. It makes it great. So you can use an image that ordinarily wouldn't be able to be used and hide what you don't want seen. Or again, in this case, you can hide something and now they've got to look it up. So class, I want you to look up what Congress passed that opened territory that had previously been closed according to the Missouri Compromise. So now they've got to do a little bit of research. So you can hide something using the blur tool. To that end, I want to come back up here and show you now what the stamp tool does. Let's just say I want to, okay, so we've just sticking with our example, you want them to look this up. You want them to have to figure that out, but you want to draw attention to it maybe in another way. So I am going to give myself a little more space here by dragging this border. When you do that, it's going to give you the checkerboard. I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in. But the reason I'm doing that is because I want to put a stamp over here next to this pixelated area. So I'm going to come over here and choose stamp. And there's a drop-down menu, and there are multiple areas with stamps. And then under these areas, there are multiple options. In some cases, there are so many, it would take time to load. So I'm not going to show you all of them. But you can see there's activities, business, food and drink, holidays, interface. I'm going to come down here to symbols because there is, if I am not mistaken, I think that's where I find the, yep, there it is, question mark. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to come over here to my paper and I'm just going to click over to my image rather. I'm just going to click. Once again, you saw that it was editable. I can make it shorter, taller, wider. I can condense the whole thing proportionally, but you could just use that. And again, you can see there's a band sign. If you don't want students to do something, if there's a video that you've created later and there's audio with it, you can put that in there, the speaker symbol to make sure that they know that there's something to listen to. So that is the stamp option. I just want to show you another one over here. I'm going to fill in again, make the entire space white, come back up here to stamp. If you look at the beginning of the second paragraph, there's a quote from Abraham Lincoln about why he personally hated slavery. And it's a great quote. So if I come back up here, yeah, you know what? I like that. I want you to notice that. I want to recognize it. There's a check mark. Once again, I can edit it, proportionally drag it, make it a little bit bigger. If I come down here, I did want to show interface real quick. I'm not going to show you all of them. But there are, they're computer symbols. They're the Mickey Mouse looking gloves. I mean, if I scroll down, there are arrows. If there are iPhones, there are communication devices. There are, you notice there was a couple of active toggle, inactive toggle. There's a pinpoint. There's the loading symbol. I mean, there are all kinds, and I barely even got to the bottom. I didn't even get close to the bottom. So the stamps are great because you have a number of different options for drawing attention to something that you want your students to see. Okay. Another thing that I mentioned at the top when I was talking about the snipping tool was the highlighter. Again, it's dependent on how steadily you can hold your hand. It's down here towards the bottom. If you look down at the bottom, by that time, however, 7 southern states, blah, 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 setting the stage for the Civil War. Well, the Civil War was obviously a major event in our history. You want to highlight that for your students, and so you decide to highlight it. You got options over here. Once again, I'm gonna click. I'm gonna drag just what I want highlighted, and there's the Civil War. It's now highlighted. If I don't like the way that looks, a lot of times when people think of the highlighter, they think of that neon yellow. There it is. Once again, you can control how thick it is, how intense it is. By dragging, closer to 100, it gets a lot deeper of a yellow, but it's a lot more professional. When I use the snipping tool, sometimes I just click and drag it, and it looks as good as my hand allowed it to look. This one, it's very formal. It's very there's nothing going to draw attention to away from the fact that you want them to see what is highlighted, not how it was highlighted. So that's the highlighter option. I got a couple other things I want to show, and for that I want to go to our login page. Now this is the login page for our Virtual Learning Academy here at the ESC. And as you can see over here, if you want in, you got to enter your username, your password, and then you've got to sign in. So once again, real quick, I am going to capture just what I need here. So give me just a second, click and drag. All right, so here's my workable area. What I want to show you now is coming back over here to the more option is to use the steps. Now, if you have a sequence of things that you want your students to see or do, here are your quick styles. You can see that there's just a regular circle. There's a circle with a pointer on the side. There's a circle with, you can do this obviously numerically by the alphabet. I can come down here. You can see there's the alphabetical circle with the arrow. But I want to use the number because we're going to go in a sequential order as far as numbers go. So now if you look, you can see that the step tool up at the top has the 1, 2, 3. My bottom right-hand quadrant has the number 1. That indicates to you what the next sequence that you place is going to be. So the first thing that a person needs to do is they need to enter their username. Now, I accidentally clicked that, and I'm sorry. I don't have a mouse right now because I took this laptop on my trip last week, and I was subject to a random TSA search. And the people that searched my duffel bag knocked the USB receiver out. And so I do not have a mouse right now. So I'm using this with the mouse pad on the laptop. So forgive me for that. But if I want to put this closer to username, I'm just going to click it and drag it over. You can see that the number 1 is in there. Now, when I click out of there, pay attention to my cursor. The next sequential number is in there. You don't have to go and enter number 2 and then number 3 and number 4 or B and then C and then D. It's already ready for you, whatever you want to select next. So username is first, password is obviously next. I'm going to go ahead and click anywhere. Okay, now I did that a little bit off to the left for a reason. If I want to align this, I'm going to click it so that I can move it, and my alignment line is going to show up. I'm going to let go. Now it's perfectly aligned. So not only do you have nice looking pointers to indicate what's next, you can align them. I'm going to do the same thing with the sign in. I'm going to click here. It's off to the left a little bit, click and drag. There's my alignment line. There's my sequential steps. First step is to enter my username. Second step is to enter the password. Third step is to sign in. So that's the step option. The last thing I want to show, and again, as I said at the top, I could keep going. There are a number of different things we didn't touch. If I just click on this, you can see there is a pen, there is a line. You can magnify things to make things a little bit larger to see in a particular area. But I want to get into the video capability just a little bit. So let me go back to my my browser one last time, and I selected this for a reason. This is the poem, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. And I selected this one because it doesn't all fit onto the screen. Now I could minimize it. You and I both know that, or make it smaller, but that kind of defeats being able to read it. So I left it as is so you could see the video capability just a little bit. This video capability is really, really handy. We've actually used this quite a bit here at our ESC, and I'll explain why that is here in a second. But I'm going to pull my window back up. And I'm going to go over to the left and switch from image to video, and it gives me some different toggle options. I can preview an editor. I'm going to leave that on. I can capture the cursor or leave it out. I can record the mic. So if I'm recording a video and I want to say something about it, my mic can be active. Or if I have students that are hearing impaired, I can read it to them while the video is scrolling. Record system audio, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago. One of the things we do, we offer a current events course, and there's a website that we get our videos from. And for a little while, we here kind of misplaced the at the ESC misplaced the embed code. Well, what I was having to do, because I couldn't figure out a way to embed it, I was having to record it, and I used Snagit. I was able to record it using the system audio. And if someone came into the office, I could talk to them, and because my mic was off, so I didn't have to worry about that, picking up stuff that, that I was saying maybe to somebody, or if a phone call came in or whatever. But that's a couple of really nice features with that. So I am going to go ahead and move this out of the way so I can see on my end. I'm going to click capture, and you get your crosshairs again. And the area that I want, I'm going to click it and drag, and I'm going to go to I'm going to swing it out a little bit, because as I read through this earlier, there are a few lines that have a little bit more text in them than some of the others. So I'm going to come way out here and just let go. Now, if you notice, it's initializing, it's ready. It gives you the option once again. So if I decide, you know what, I really wanted the microphone, it gives you the option here. You don't have to start all over again. Or if I want to turn off the system audio, I'm going to go ahead and do that here. The webcam option is here. If I just really want to get an image for somewhere, it gives you more options after you select from that first window, which I think is nice. You can also draw on this from this particular unit, or from this particular point, but we're not going to get into that too much right now. So I'm going to go ahead and record, and this is your start button. So when I hit record, it's going to give you a little bit of a countdown before it actually starts recording. So I'm going to hit record. There's my countdown, 3, 2, 1. And you can see here my timer, it's recording. All right, so I'm going to start scrolling. I'm not going to take too much time because this is obviously just a demonstration, but this is going to record just what you see within that window. If you want the whole screen, you can record the whole screen. But I'm going down here for a reason. I really don't want that at the end, but I did that because I want to show you something here in a second. So I'm done. So I'm going to hit stop. It's processing and automatically brings it back up in my editor. Okay. So as you can see, I've got a 30-second video here. If you recall, I got to the end and I recorded a little bit more of the screen than I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and move my progress bar all the way to the end, and I want to get rid of this. You can trim some of the video away. And one thing that I think that is really nice about the way Snagit does it is if I grab this green button, and if I click it and drag it backward, as I get far enough into it, it's going to move the video with me. Now, a lot of editors, you'll cut right out in the center of where it is you want it to stop. There we go. I knew if I kept talking, it would show up. Let's just say I want to stop right there with the public domain rights. So I want to get rid of the share option. So I'll bring that to right there, maybe. I really wish I had my mouse. This is making it difficult. Now, I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let go of the mouse, and it brings the cut option up right away. So I'm just going ahead and click cut. It cut 10 seconds off. So all that stuff there at the end that I didn't really want, I was able to get rid of. I could do the same thing at the beginning, because if you remember, I talked a little bit before I actually started scrolling on the screen. Just grab the red button and move toward the end. And once the video starts moving, you'll see it and you'll know to go back just a little bit. And there we go. It's starting to move. So I can bring that back to around 7 seconds, let go, cut. So my 30-second video, because of my edits and the things I was able to do, is now a 13-second video. Another really cool feature is this is that you can make a GIF. I know some people say GIF, GIF, potato, but you can actually make a GIF from this. And it's nice too, because of usage and usage rights and so forth. You're only allowed to use certain amounts of videos. If you find a video you want to use, you can use the GIF to get that point across, and that will keep you in compliance with usage rights. So there are a lot of really cool features with Snagit. Maybe some of these you knew about, maybe you didn't. That was really all I had today, because I wanted to leave time for questions and answers in case anybody had any. Everybody good then?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
It works out great.
Very good. Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate the chat. No, all right. Well, if that's the case, I just want to thank everybody for attending again. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Michelle, enjoy your next Zoom.
Thanks, Brant.
You're welcome. We'll talk to y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
All right. Bye.